you. So, I mean, we can do it ourselves because we can see. Remember, we're looking for some points of contact to find support, and we'll just squeeze this chart up a bit, and we'll see where we can see support and resistance. So let's have a look here. So we could say that this area here is a bit of support. If we didn't know what was coming, we would say, right, market's pushed up, pulled back, pushed up again. It's topped out about here, come back down, and it's not a perfect match, but see how it's found a bit of support there at 94. It traded through it a little bit. So that's really a level that's held, hasn't it? So we would say, yeah, look, the buyers are in control here, the buyers are in control here, and it looks like this area might hold because when the sellers come down, they're struggling to get through. So that to us is probably an area of support, and you'll see that that the indicator does a pretty good job of showing us where the support level is, which is pretty good. So, okay, so we've got support. So look what happens here. We've got resistance here because remember the white is resistance. We've got a little bit of resistance here. You can see price pushes up. There's the first run through to try to get back up to this level. It comes back, so the sellers push price back. Then it comes back. Then it has another run up. Price gets pushed back again. So we know from our trading that, okay, automatically we've got resistance there. So we've got basically a level at which we know that the market is struggling to get through. So if we're looking here at this chart and we don't know what's coming, we might think that, well, there's potentially going to be a bit of a breakout here because the market's not going to stay within or particularly this market, the DAX, isn't going to stay within that tight of a range for too long. So interestingly, when you've got support and resistance so tight, something has to give. Like it can find what we call equilibrium for a while, but when we've got a market like this one, like an index, which this is, the German index, we don't typically see that tight of a price range for very long. 20, 30 points, that is a very, very tight price range. I mean, it can happen for a while, it can happen for a couple of hours, may happen for a day, but it won't happen at some point during the day or the next day. This thing will break out. So what would we do as traders? We're looking for potentially the breakout, aren't we? But remember what we said about breakouts. The thing about breakouts is that, and let's just kind of clarify what a breakout is. A breakout is when price consolidates or gets in a range, because remember this area here is what we call a trading range. So it's a fairly tight range, and it's called a range of consolidation or a tight trading range. So anytime we see that happen, we know that there's fairly tight support and resistance occurring, and that's definitely happening. Now, what tends to happen when we get that support and resistance occur is that eventually price will break out. But what we know as traders is that what happens when we get a breakout of price out of a tight range is that we tend to get what we call slippage. That's where basically the market moves very quickly, and say like we did today, we decided that, right, well, we're going to sell a certain level on the DAX. What can happen is if we work our entry or our trade at a certain level and we want to get filled, if there's a lot of movement, a lot of volatile movement one way, it can really give us a very bad trade entry or a bad fill. So we've got to be a little bit careful of this thing called slippage, and we're going to spend a bit more time learning about that. But what really that is basically you decide that you want to go in at a level. So you want to be a seller at 7,190. So that means that you've decided, based on your analysis, that this market's going to go lower, and that you want to sell the market at 7,190. So you want the market to go in at that level, and you're going to, say for example, cover the trade or close the trade out at 7,170. So do we all agree that there's potentially 20 points worth of profit there? Everybody happy with that? 20 points worth of profit on that particular trade. We know the DAX is worth €25, so it's worth €25. So we basically know we've got $500 that we can potentially make on this trade. So everybody all good with that? What we've done is we've looked at this market and we've said, right, well, the market couldn't get up through here, up the top level. It's traded back in this range. It tried to get through up here again. It's come back. So there's a likelihood or a chance that this market could break out of here, break down or go lower. So what we're going to do as part of our kind of example trade tonight is we're going to say, right, well, we're going to basically work an order. So we're going to sell, because we know that once support and resistance set up, so once we've got resistance overhead and support below, eventually at some point during the day this area is going to break and we're going to get a trade. We don't know which way. We could potentially put an order up on top as well, but we've got a feeling that it's going to go lower. So, and our analysis looks as though it's going to push lower based on this, what happened here. So based on this pretty strong push back down here, so we decide, right, well, let's sell to open. Actually, I'll get you guys to write. Anybody want to have a go at writing the order into the box? Does anybody want to have a go at writing the trade order in the box there to get us into the trade? And I also, if you can, give me a 10-point stop on the trade. So we want to have a 10-point stop. And we're going to go for a 20-point target. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, we're going to risk. We're basically going to look at this trade. This is trade number 1 for the night. Trade number 1. We're going to risk 10 points. So 10 points on the trade, which equals €25. And if you can give me the value of that. And our